What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome back to the Emperor Atheist channel with your host, Emperor Atheist. This is simply a response video to all of the trolls, and some of them may not be trolls, but most of them are trolls, in the comment sections of a lot of my videos. Like I say, a lot of time I don't have time to go through after I make a video, or a few days after I make a video, to see all the comments, but since it pops up on my phone, then I'll see a lot of the notifications, and I'll go back and actually read all the comments, good or bad, just to see how people think and to see people's reaction. But in retrospect, I have a few people who ask theists, I think, who ask sensible questions, and I answer them in the comment sections a lot. I try to anyway, those I can get to. And I have a lot of those who basically I think are trolling. I still actually give them attention. Yes, it's what we call feeding the trolls. Sometimes I feed the trolls. It's entertainment for me. But at the same time, I'm going to tell you why I feed the trolls. It's just like when I used to do a lot of Facebook groups. And it would be trolls inside of the Facebook groups or wherever. Only reason I feed the trolls is because I always know that there's people paying attention to your dialogue. Whether it's on YouTube comments or Quora or whatever other comments you might be debating in any type of debate forum, as far as over the internet anyway, there's always somebody listening or viewing the dialogue. So this is why I feed the trolls, because the trolls will be coming at you with, of course, redundant, ridiculous stuff. But I engage them because I want other people who may be on the other side to listen to my responses to the trolls. And I like to allow the people who I don't know who's maybe listening or watching, I want them to witness how I actually take the trolls apart and how I dissect them. So this is why I feed the trolls sometimes. Most of the time I will feed the trolls. But anyway, I made a video, I think 7 questions that all atheists answers. And there's a couple of people, and I won't name their names because I'm not going to give their names any legitimacy. But they know who they are. And basically this one person, he came at me, he was in the comment section of my video, and he kept speaking. Basically he didn't understand the argument he was using, but he kind of, I guess, copied and pasted William Lane Craig Kalam cosmological argument. Now I've already made videos answering these particular arguments, and so has a lot of other people, atheists and so forth, basically debunk these arguments. And like I always say, an argument in and of itself is not evidence anyway. It's just something to, entertain. It's philosophy. It's philosophical in nature. But what I did, I actually did a video on the Kalam cosmological argument, debunking it. And I also did a video on the moral argument for God and how weak it is. I still haven't done my video on the fine-tuning or what is called in the philosophical religious circles, the teleological argument. But I'm going to go on and do that because it's so boring. It's almost not worth doing, but I'm going to do it anyway, because these are like the most 4 popular arguments. The Kalam cosmological argument, which I'm going to deal with mostly in this video, because this is what people try to use when they come at me trolling. The moral argument for God, I can delve into that a little bit. The ontological argument for God, and what we call the teleological or fine-tuning, or what some of you may be familiar with, called the watchmaker. But basically, most of the trolls, they use William Lane Craig Kalam's cosmological argument. Now, let me give you a little history on this. Like I said, I already done a video on it. I just want to give a little history on it, and I'm going to respond to the trolls. The Kalam argument for God. Kalam is an Arabic word, and it basically means, in Arabic, it means discourse. And it comes from ancient Islamic Muslim philosopher Al-Ghazali, and it was called al-Kalam, which means the science or the knowledge of discourse, science of discourse. William Lane Craig, who happens to be a Christian, charlatan, philosopher, whatever you want to call him, has basically popularized it in modern time. And he's put it like, his own little twist on it. And he's a Christian. Although this was used for Islamic, it started in Islamic theological circles, but William Lane Craig, is being a Christian apologist, has made it very, very popular today. Well, anyway, in any event, his particular argument, he always uses it. He records. I mean, he has word for word, going back 20-something years, the same stuff he says in argument. He's very redundant. He has no evidence. This argument has never proved any existence of God. But this is the thing, and this is the thing I try to address, and I try to, and I try to make it very clear and to the point. Just going back to the history, and this is why I mentioned Al-Ghazali and his Islamic roots as far as Kalam concerned. And let me get a three before I even go any further. Let me give the three for those who are not familiar with the Kalam cosmological argument. It's very simple, and it has three basic premises, which are anything. The first premise being anything that begins to exist has a cause. Second premise, the universe begins to exist. Third premise, therefore, the universe has a cause. Now, these three premises go all the way down until the point that, well, since the universe has a cause, then it must be caused by an uncaused cause. And their uncaused cause, they say, is their personal God. Now, there's so many flaws in this argument. The first, and I'm going to make these basic flaws understandable. First of all, if Al-Ghazali was speaking and came up with this, in other words, Muslim apologists can use this argument to try to have an argument for the existence of their Allah, their Quran. William Lane Craig is using the same argument to prove the existence of his personal God, who he believes raised some Jesus Christ from the dead. Now, if this is the case, then I'm sure Jews can use it as well to prove their Yahweh or their Elohim or whichever God from whatever source in the Tanakh, which contradicts each other, whichever one they want to prove, they can prove it. And this is the thing. If all three of these religions, or anybody who believes in a deity, can use a Kalam argument, then this in itself shows and proves that you can't prove exactly your personal God. Because we know that Islamic theology contradicts Christian theology. Christian theology contradicts Islamic theology. Both of those contradicts Judaism theology. Although they claim the same patriarch in Abraham, but they totally go against each other when it comes down to the main and foundational tenets of their religion. So exactly what God are you proving by using the Kalam argument, or what, or how? And this is another question I want to ask you, trolls. When you always say, well, there has to be an uncalled cause, and let me explain what I mean to the readers who are not familiar with this. This uncalled cause meaning that it's not an ever receding thing. In other words, that the universe it's not always been here. It's not something that's always can be receding and receding and receding. Well, first of all, I want to make a point on that. We don't know that to be a fact. We don't know if the universe, or what was before the universe, or before the Big Bang. We have no idea how long energy and radiation has been here. We don't know if it's been here infinity or not. And the thing about this, when we talk about and you bring it to fact the point about the multiverse theory, we have no idea what's been here, or what hasn't been here, or how long it's been here. But even to the point, even if we say the universe, we're just going to just kill the argument, and let's just say the universe had a beginning, just for the sake of argument. What in the hell makes you think that this uncaused cause was your personal God of the Bible? And see, this is the thing. You can't prove that. You can't show that. Why can't this uncaused cause be Zeus of the Greek pantheon? Why can't it be El of the Canaanite ancient pantheon? Why can't it be Amun-Ra or Pat or Anton-Ra? Why can't it be Mazda or any of the Nordic gods? So how can you, Muslim, Christian, or Jew, if you're trying to use the Kalam argument, the cosmological argument, how can you make this uncaused cause, or what we also call this unmovable mover, your particular personal God? See, that's the problem. That's one of the main issues why you really could throw this Kalam cosmological argument in the trash, because you can't make, or you can't prove, there's no evidence, not even anecdotal evidence. But I don't even have to mention the term empirical evidence, because that's an embarrassment to even mention something like that for this particular weird ass argument. We don't even have any anecdotal evidence to show that this uncaused cause, that Joe says, William Lane Craig says, is the reason behind the universe being created. We have no idea about that. You have no way to prove that. You have no evidence for that. So those arguments are really trash within itself. Then we have several other issues with the Kalam cosmological argument. And like I just mentioned, dealing with the multiverse theory, it says everything in the universe has a beginning. But this is the problem right here. This is the problem right here. This is the first premise of the argument. It says everything, or not everything in the universe, but everything that has everything in the beginning. You know, it has. Excuse me. It said everything has a beginning, which is saying everything. This is the word is used. It says everything. Then it gets to the second premise and says the universe began to exist. But if everything from the first premise, if everything has a beginning, then why can't God be within that everything? And I made this point before, and I've made it in person. I made it on stage. Why can't, and how do you theists know that your God was not within the everything? In other words, when did God come into existence? Or what created God? Where did God come from? What makes you think? Because you have no evidence, of course. I'm just asking. It's philosophical because it's only philosophical. It's only a philosophical argument. So what makes you think that your God was not created or didn't have a starting point? Why not? Where did God come from? Why do we have to accept that this God, not just a deity, but your personal God of the Bible, or your personal God of the Quran, or your personal God of the Tanakh or the Torah or the Pentateuch, was this uncaused cause of this unmovable mover? So do you see how much sense you don't make? So this is, like I said, this was a response to the trolls. Then some speak of the moral argument, and it's just ridiculous to me. I don't know how religious people can actually speak on morality when your Bible and Quran are basically one of some of the most corrupt books ever. Rape, genocide on people, slavery by your gods. Those are immoral acts that today that we definitely see as immoral, which proves that in 2017, and according to your Quranic times or your biblical times, it's a proven thing that society, that the moral zeitgeist changes. In other words, things that we see as immoral today, regardless of a holy book, the things that we see as immoral today, it wasn't immoral then. Why is that? It was archaic thinking then. That's why. It had nothing to do with a deity or some intelligent being that knows all, because it's obvious that this God doesn't know all. Because if something that he allowed back then this means if your God never changes, then he would be allowing the same things now, which we see through religious acts. We see through Zionism in Israel. We see through Islamic terrorism, ISIS, or whoever you want to call Al-Qaeda. We see the ignorance of killing millions and thousands of people every day. We see the ignorance of it because of this imaginary God and the way that he thought in this archaic book. And it's dangerous to society. And people always ask, well, if I was atheist, I wouldn't care what people believe. Very ignorant statement, and it's very narrow-minded to think like that. The reason we speak out against religions because religion is dangerous for society. It's dangerous for the future of our children. It's dangerous. It's anti-scientific, and actually lowers IQ scores. Religion is nothing good for it. Now, if you ask me, are there some good things as far as religion does for humanity? Yes, of course it is. But for the long haul, religion is very detrimental. We can see this in the news every day. We see what's going on in the East. Not only in the East, we see what's going on even in America. We see what's going on. So in Australia, all across the world, man, across Europe, bombings. Why are you bombing? Why are you killing people? Why are you killing people? Because you feel like they're drawing cartoons of your pedophile prophet, or they don't want Sharia law within your country, or anything. They talk down on the Ten Commandments, or any ignorant religious thought that you people believe. So yes, this is a problem. So when we talk about the moral argument, for those who always try to bring up morality, this is the thing. And I said this before. I just made a video on the child molesting of the Catholic Church, and how God can't be the author of morality. And obviously we know for a fact that God doesn't make people be moral, because most of the believers are doing immoral things. Catholic Church, raping kids, been doing it for years. The Christian church, the regular church, the Protestant church, molestation, money laundering, all the evil things have been going on within the church. Preachers sleeping with members' wives, and do your people think that your God is actually the author of morality with all these things going on? So these things, period. Just simple things show and prove that religious people do not have a trademark on morality. And I've said this before, and I have to keep reiterating to the trolls. So morality is something that is innate. we should be empathetic toward people, other humans, period. It shouldn't be because of some God. And it's not because of some God. Do I believe in objective morality? No, I don't. I think morality is very subjective. And we've seen it throughout the years, throughout history, that morality is very subjective. Once again, things that we thought was moral 500 years ago, we don't think it is moral now. That means there's subjectivity to what you call morality. Your Bible is a very immoral thing. Things that was moral according to your Old Testament laws are not moral now in this society, and they won't even be thought about doing, except in most Islamic countries, like stoning people and cutting people's heads off. They're probably still one of the most ignorant religious groups that actually are still trying to live up to this archaic caveman type mentality. So in retrospect, and I hope this answers a lot of you trolls' questions, you can't prove morality, or you can't say that how can you be moral without God. Atheists are probably some of the most moral people on the planet. So morality doesn't prove anything about any God. Whether God, some deity exists or not, has nothing to do with humans' moral fiber, has anything to do with our moral character. If you're immoral because you're just an immoral person. If you're moral, you're going to be moral because you're just a moral person. You want to be a good person. It shouldn't have anything to do with some deity or you being scared of some type of punishment at the end of your life. But like I said, this is just a response to the trolls. And I said I'm going to do videos on the other two arguments, the ontological. I just didn't want to get into it here. On the ontological argument for God, which is bullshit too. It's grade A bullshit as well. And I'm going to do a video on the fine-tuning argument, or what they call the watchmaker, or the theological argument for the existence of God that Christian apologists try to use. But like I said, these four arguments are not even hypotheses. They're just philosophical arguments. And once again, any argument in and of itself is not evidence for anything. So it's just something that we as atheists should know. And this is the thing. Like I said, I try to educate a lot of atheists on these particular arguments, because these are a lot of arguments that, out of the 100% of Christians or Christianity, maybe about 2% of them even know these arguments. Most Christians that you run into on social media or that you run into on the street, they have no idea what the fuck I was talking about. They don't know anything about a cosmological argument. The average Christian or Catholic or Muslim have no idea about no cosmological argument. They have no idea. A lot of them don't even know who the hell William Lane Craig is. Or none of these people, wrestling or nobody. They don't know who these people are. They have no idea about the theological argument. They have no idea about the moral arguments for God. They're not even, most Christians are not familiar with the Bible, and most Christians are not even familiar with philosophy, period. So, but I bring these particular arguments because within a certain circle of what we will call intelligent people who real scholar, in the scholarly circle, these are the arguments that are used. So I try to bring my readers and my viewers up on what that percentage is talking about. The other 97% of Christians really don't matter. They're just going to say the dumbest shit out of their mouth, and you should just move on. But these particular arguments are what like I say, maybe 3 or 4% of the intelligent religious community use and try to use and keep trying to use. So this is why I try to put my fellow atheists up on these particular arguments. People like Matt Dillahunty, definitely Christopher Hitchens, who, rest in peace to the Hitch. He destroyed all these arguments in his videos. Y'all can easily go look up Christopher Hitchens. Sam Perkins do a pretty good job. Neil deGrasse Tyson does a very good job, even though she doesn't claim atheist yet. But hopefully he'll come around. But Neil deGrasse Tyson, I'm going to do a video on the God of the Gaps too. Neil deGrasse Tyson and his explanation of the God of the Gaps is probably the best I've heard, man. Even better than Christopher Hitchens and Carl Sagan. Neil deGrasse Tyson just makes it very plain and simple how he destroys this Gods of the Gap theory. And I'm going to do a video just solely on the Gods of the Gap, because I think that's important too, because that's basically where most of these apologists come from. And William Lane Craig is one of them. He's the main one. And the reason I mentioned William Lane Craig because he's the most popular Christian apologist of the day, and the most boring one to listen to. And he is a straight rhetorical master, full of garbage. But anyway, this was just my response video to the trolls. And y'all just keep responding, man. But please try to respond with some evidence. And it makes sense when you respond. I have no problem I have no problem approving any of your comments, so don't think that I don't give a damn about that. I will approve your comment because I actually want to see your stupidity on my post so other people can see your stupidity on my post. And then, like I say, since I am one who will feed the trolls, I would like to see people who are viewing the dialogue to see all of our discourse. That way, the exposing can begin. But once again, I'm the Atheist. Thanks for watching. I'm out. Peace.